taking a vehicle and driving straight up in that stuff is magical. There's a lot you can do out there in the sand.
When you're trying to go as fast as you can through that terrain, that's really where you're at in war with the desert.
We're out here in the middle of the Nevada desert. We're about to hang out BJ Baldwin, who's going to take us in his trophy truck through its natural environment, this massive desert right behind me. BJ has won 2 Baja 1000 races, which you can think of as the Olympic marathon of off-road racing. The Mojave is 2,500 square miles of dirt and rock, and it's no place for a human being. And yet there are people like BJ who have dedicated their lives to building machines that can tear through this unforgiving environment. We've come to the home of off-road racing to see how these brutal conditions have spurred the development of some of the toughest vehicles on the planet. And so BJ, where are we right now?
Right now we're at one of my test platforms in northern Las Vegas. It's a 5-mile loop. I'm going to let you drive it. It's not hard to drive, just hard to go fast, and they're very, very unstable vehicles, and you'll see it's pretty amazing how fast it'll go in the bumps. There's just a few things that you need to know. Steering is very, very sensitive. It's very quick. The key here, because they're so unstable, if something's in front of you, don't swerve.
Okay.
It's because if you swerve in this, it'll flip over so fast. We'll be upside down and on fire before you know it.
With its 850 horsepower engine, this trophy truck is capable of reaching speeds close to 130 miles an hour while bouncing across boulders and ditches.
So go ahead and push the button and give it a little bit of gas.
Oh, this is so awesome.
Hold on. There's a big ditch right here. Slow way down. Holy shit.
My hand is like shaking like crazy right now too. This is like, it's the loudest and just most intense machine I've ever been on. BJ and his trophy truck are the result of a decades-long evolution in off-roading. The beginning of this history can be found across the desert at a weathered dune buggy ranch run by Willie Kalajian. This dusty plot of land is where he calls home. He has spent the majority of his life building and resurrecting dune buggies. To understand the rugged origins of off-roading, we travel to Willies Ranch for lessons in dune buggies and man's relationship with the desert.
They took a Volkswagen chassis, took the body off of it, shortened it 14 3/4 inches, and put a fiberglass body on it, and it went from there.
When was that?
That was back in the 70s.
What was it like back then?
Chaotic. It's an adrenaline rush. You're out in the middle of the desert, you go from point A to point B, and all the time the clock is running. You're racing the clock more than you're racing anything else. You're going for the checkered flag in that race vehicle. You sacrifice anything you need to finish the race.
What is it about the dunes out there that
freedom?
Freedom.
Freedom. As long as you don't go wild, there's a lot you can do out there in the sand.
Willie's love of VW bugs ties back to the early days, when off-road racing meant not much more than buying bigger tires. But as dune buggy racing got more popular, the vehicles got beefier and faster. Through the 80s and 90s, Class 8 trucks were largely the top dogs, blasting through the desert with 600 horsepower V8s. But the Class 8s were based on trucks you could buy from a dealership, which drastically limited how radical their suspension could be. Once the trophy truck, with its full tube chassis, was introduced in the mid-90s, engineers suddenly had a free hand to design far tougher and capable suspensions, which in turn meant they could safely use more powerful engines. And that brings us back to BJ and his Las Vegas shop, which focuses entirely on building the fastest trophy trucks on Earth.
We have all the intelligence as it relates to being able to improve any type of off-road vehicle. And I'm fortunate enough to say that, I can do that.
Because there's so many different classes of racing. So like you race trophy trucks. What defines that?
Various other classes, they have rule books that are 25 pages, 50 pages, 60 pages. The trophy truck rule book is 1 page. That's what makes it so cool. You can build whatever you want. There's not many restrictions.
It's hard to tell on camera, but trophy trucks are big. BJ's truck is powered by an 850 horsepower V8, which is wrapped in a full tube frame chassis. Mounted on each corner are massive 4.5-inch bypass shocks and coilovers, which control 39-inch tires.
So many variables that can go wrong, and it's got 2 or 3 more dimensions than any other motorsport. We can put the motor in the front, we can put the motor in the back, we can put the fuel cell in the front. Whatever you can possibly imagine that you think is going to go faster than everything else, you can build it and bring it to the party. Every vehicle in here has a support role to the race truck. A pre-runner is used before the race to run around the race course. So all the information and intelligence we learn in this vehicle is downloaded into the race truck. So we have all the information, all the corners, the rocks, the jumps. This one was constructed out of an older 1978 Chevy Blazer. The tire probably sits right here, and it'll almost rub the hood at full compression.
The wheel is basically moving all the way up and down, all the way through here.
Yeah, you can see. I don't know how tight these arms are, but you can kind of see, to get the truck to handle good in the desert, it has to have a lot of wheel travel, a lot of big A-arms, suspension components, because of the roughness of the terrain that we have to go over and at the speed that we have to go over it.
One thing that's immediately noticeable here is how far the engine's been set back.
Yeah, it significantly increases the handling of the vehicle and the nimbleness of the vehicle. The way this vehicle is configured is when it hits something, it flies like this. It's triangulated to accommodate for going over big bumps at 100 miles an hour. Most trucks have a lot of their components in the rear. So when you hit something, it carries that mass over and goes over top.
Vegas is kind of like the heart of off-road racing, right?
Yeah, I would say Vegas and Southern California, but Vegas has all the best availability. This city turns right in the desert, and I have a 13-mile test platform 20 minutes south of the Las Vegas Strip.
So what's this route that we're going on? What's it like? Is it similar to the race courses that you ride on, or?
It's an old qualifying loop for a Mint 400 course, so it's reasonably rough. It's about 5 miles. There's some jumps in it. There's a lot of actual dangers in it where there's big ditches and stuff like that, and it's really rough. The chassis are evolving. The trucks are evolving. They're constantly evolving. My biggest battle is aerodynamics and traction. It's not how big the bumps are.
The desert's harsh conditions have kept humans from inhabiting much of its land. Yet there are people who have taken that challenge and created some remarkable pieces of engineering. Whether it's the birth of off-roading, seen through the bare-bones buggies coming from Willie's yard, or the futuristic, tech-infused trophy trucks built in BJ's garage, these vehicles are 2 answers to an old question. How do we get to where we want to go as fast as we can?
Been here about 35 years and loving it. Don't ask me to go to the big city. I don't want to go.
And if Willie's right about the freedom that's out in the desert, off-road vehicles are the best way to obtain it.